multiplying square roots, and you can multiply square roots just like you can multiply normal numbers. So square root of 10 times square root of 2 is square root of 20. But just like yesterday, you have to simplify your answer. So it means, what did we do yesterday?
You did the factory.
Even though 20 doesn't have a square root, there's something inside of 24 that does. So once you break it down, if you have a double, you guys remember doing this? It's 2 comes out, 5 stays behind. So it's 2 square root of 5. Okay, it might be easier, instead of multiplying it first, just to start breaking it down over here. So it's like 2 and 5 and 2. Instead of multiplying it and then doing that, you could do it over here. So it's 2 square root of 5. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It works either way, it doesn't really matter. But if you start over here, it's a little bit less work. Okay, but what if we had something like 2 square root of 5 times 4 square root of 2?
That's a good question.
Okay, well, what does 2 square root of 5 mean? It means 2 times square root of 5 times 4 times square root of 2. This is just a bunch of stuff multiplied together. Does order of multiplication matter?
No.
No. So we can multiply the stuff together that actually simplifies. 2 times 4 is 8. Square root of 5 times square root of 2 is square root of 10. Shh. Alright, so yeah, 2 times square root of 5 does not simplify. It can turn into a messy decimal, but that's not, we don't call that simple. But, so that's why we leave them separate, 2 square root of 5. But 2 times 4, that simplifies. Square root of 5 times square root of 2, that simplifies. Now, let's say this had been 8 square root of 20 instead. Okay, because square root of 20 does simplify to 2 square root of 5, just like before, what am I going to do with this 8 right here? Okay, boys. You need to focus if you want to learn it. What do you think I'm going to do with this 8? Well, basically this would just be 8 times, instead of square root of 20, 8 times 2 square root of 5. So 8 times 2 would be 16 times square root of 5. Okay, I made it up. It was 10, but square root of 10 does not simplify, right? Because the only thing that goes into 10 is 2 and 5. So that doesn't, this would not reduce any, would not simplify any. So I made it into 20 just to make a point. Anyways, let's roll. You guys will figure it out. Square root of 5 times, let's see, where did we stop yesterday?
We stopped at
You're making stuff up.
No, we actually stopped.
Yeah, you did actually start why. I remember.
I was the last one.
I didn't start it.
What if it's
No, you finished with
We
why.
stopped on case. What if it's like a...
Okay, Hank, what's square root of 5 times square root of 3?
15.
Does that simplify?
No.
No. 5 and 3 are the only thing that go into 15, and there's no doubles. Did you guys, 8th grade boys, did you guys figure this out? I meant to record it, but I forgot to hit play. It's probably, I probably recorded it like last year or the year before that, so you can go back in time and look for it. Good chance. Or maybe you can figure it out today, I don't know. I'm not really explaining it. So, Jackson, what do you think square root of 8 times square root of 3 is going to be?
Multiply to make 24.
Square root of 24.
Back to that.
Okay, yeah. So even though 24 doesn't have a nice square root, it's a weird decimal, something inside of it does have a square root. So what you do is you break it down, okay, and anything that has doubles means there's something with a square root. Like 4 has a square root of 2. So anything that has doubles is going to come out. So that double 2 is going to come out as a 2. And then what's left behind is 2 times 3. So it's 2 square root of 6.
So why would you multiply the 2's, but you multiply the 2 to 3?
Okay, square root of 4 is 2. That's basically what happened to those 2's. And 2 is multiplied to the square root of 6. These are multiplied together.
I'll make it
So it's kind of like square root of 4 times
Okay, that makes sense.
square root of 6, but the square root of 4 becomes a 2.
Ah. See.
Alright, number 5. What do we got? 12 and 5. So, Avery, what are we going to do with square root of 12 times square root of 5? Square root of 60. And also, 8th grade boys, if you have a nice calculator, they can handle square roots, but they can't handle cubed roots or fourth roots or any other kind of roots. Sorry, go ahead.
And then do 10 and 6.
Okay, so what's gonna come out? 2. And what's gonna be left behind?
15.
Square root of 50. Alright, square root of 5 and square root of 10. Manny, what's square root of 5 times square root of 10?
would be the square root of 50.
Okay, and what can go into 50?
5 and
5 and 10, and of course 10 is 2 times 5. So what's that going to turn into?
10. The square root of 5 times the square root of 2.
Correct. 5 times square root of 2. Lauren, I'm trying to remember to get out of your way, but I don't usually. What? What did you say? Nothing? Okay.
I guess. You should bring your hair back out.
Number 5. Thank you.
I think we got out at 10 after.
Yeah.
So do you only multiply the 2 that are left if there's like 4, like on number 5, since you already have the 2's out, do you only multiply the 5 and 3 because those are the ones left instead of just taking one of them?
Yeah, I mean, you can't throw anything away. So the reason these 2 turn into 1, 2 is because the square root of 2 times 2 is like 4, and 5 times 3 is 15. So this turns into a normal 2, and these are multiplied together. So, but the 5 and the 3, that part doesn't simplify. That's why it works. All right. Oh yeah. So on 9, if I was doing this one, I would not multiply it together first. I would just start breaking it down, because 28 times 35 is kind of big. You could get some giant number over here, blah, 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 and then break it down, and it's going to be 28 times 35. Does that make sense? Okay, so if I was doing this, I would just start it over here. Just going right there. Anyway, Brian, what goes into 28?
14 and 2.
14 and 2, 35, 5 and 7. And then 14 is also 2 and 7. So Brian, do you know what's going to come out on this one? Okay, the doubles. So there's a double 2 and a double 7. So that means 2 times 7 is going to come out. So that is 14.
It's making sense now.
How did it not make sense yesterday? It did the exact same thing.
Yeah, it didn't make sense yesterday.
It did?
It did not.
It did not?
Yes, it did.
I feel like the problems with the letters are easier than like no, they're not.
No.
Okay, but there's a 5 left behind. So that goes in the square root. Maybe you guys just had to see it 2 days in a row. That was all it needed.
Yeah. And you picked 5, it's left over, okay.
You got it now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it's kind of same deal on this one. I probably wouldn't multiply those together. I mean, you could, and you get like, what is it, 590, I think. But guess what goes into 590? 5 and 118. So, anyways, I would probably just start over here. The 5, you know, just doesn't. Hannah, what do you think could go into 118? Well, if it ends in 8, what for sure goes into it? Okay, well, no, actually not 6. If it ends in 8, it's an even, so that means 2 goes into it. 2 times 59. 59 is a prime. You've never seen this in a like your times tables or anything. That's because it's prime. Nothing goes into 59 except for 1 times 59. So what does that mean? There's no doubles. So what does that mean? Okay, does not simplify. But we're not going to write does not simplify because the answer is square root of 590. Okay, that doesn't simplify, but it's still the answer. Yay.
So what do we do?
Did I sound excited?
What do we do after?
Like, chill out.
Huh?
What do we do for number 8?
8?
Same thing.
No, 8 simplifies. I would do 33 is 3 times 11. 55 is 5 times 11. And then you have a double 11 and it'll come out. Alright. Jesse, what does this problem look like?
It looks like,
Duh.
you multiply both of them by
Yeah.
distributive property.
Distributive property, that's what it looks like. Yeah, it is. So what is the square root of 3 times the square root of 2?
Square root of 6.
Okay, and that does not simplify because the only thing that goes into it is 2 times 3. And then minus what's 1 times the square root of 3?
Square root of 3.
Yeah, you could say 1 square root of 3. So they don't really mix. If this had been, let me throw another number in there. Let's say that had been 2. So what's 2 times square root of 3? And the answer is it doesn't simplify, so we just put 2 square root of 3. It's kind of like what's 2 times x. But in this case, it was just a 1. So what's 1 times square root of 3? It's 1 square root of 3, or just square root of 3. Just like in x, what? 1 times square root of 3 is square root of 3. Okay, so if I said what's 5 times like the square root of 7? No.
5 square root of 7.
No, square root of 5 times square root of 7 is square root of 35. But 5 times square root of 7 does not simplify, so it's 5 square root of 7. Okay, it's kind of like saying what's 5 times x? 5x. What does 5x? It means 5. What does 5x mean? It means 5 times x. We're not really doing anything because there is no simpler way to write it. There is a weird decimal thing, but we're not going to put that. We're just going to put 5 times square root of 7, 5 square root of 7. Okay, this one was 1 times square root of 3. That doesn't simplify, and also we don't really need a 1 right there, just like we don't need a 1 in front of an x. Yeah, right. 15.
Why would you simplify to 6?
Because the only thing that goes into 6 is 2 times 3, and there's no doubles. So it's like yesterday when we wrote does not simplify. Square root of 6 does not simplify. Oh, and these don't subtract. We haven't got to adding and subtracting yet. That might be Friday, I think. But these do not add or subtract either. Yeah, we're not doing adding and subtracting today. Okay. They maybe shouldn't have put this until Friday.
Somewhat easy compared to last time.
I think it's easier than yesterday. Well, we're doing some of the stuff we did yesterday today, right? All right. Let's see. Lauren, what do you think we need to do on this one? Okay, well, it looks a lot like 13, right? This is distribute. So we're going to multiply both of those. Let's see. Square root of 7 times square root of 21 would be square root of 147. Plus square root of 7 times square root of 2 is square root of 14. All right. Can we clean this up any? Does it simplify any? How about the 14? Do you think square root of 14 simplifies? No, the only thing that goes into 14 is 2 times 7. You never count. You never do 1 and 14. That's taking a 1 out is like doing nothing. But 2 times 7, yeah, there's no doubles there. So that doesn't. But this one, 21 has a 7 inside of it, right? And there's a 7 right there. So there's actually a couple 7s multiplied in here. So this is 7 times 21. I knew that because that's where we got it from. And 21 is 7 times 3. So what's going to come out? 7. And what stays behind? 3. Okay, they're up in the game here. We're on cubed roots now. Cubed root of 40, this is where the calculator doesn't help anymore. Cubed root of 40 times cubed root of 54. How far did I say? 24? Probably because these problems are a little bit harder. So it's the same idea except for, guess what? We need a triple to get out. We need a triple to get out. These are pretty big. I'm not going to multiply them together first. I'm just going to go ahead and start breaking them down over here. I know what I was going to say. If we had like cubed root of 5 times square root of 2, what do you guys guess? Would these multiply together or not?
No.
It's not. Yeah, these do not simplify. They have to both be cubed root or both be square root or whatever. Both be the same kind of. Anyways, 40. Let's see. Davin, what can go into 40?
8,
Okay, and then of course 8 is 4 times 2. Okay, what goes into 54? 9 and 6. We got a lot of stuff on this one. 9 is 3 times 3, 6 is 3 times 2. Okay. So triples come out. So do you see any triples? Okay, a triple 3 and a triple 2. So 2 times 3 is going to come out. So that's 6. And left behind, don't forget to put a cube root symbol. What's left behind? 5 times 2, 10. Now that's day 2, you guys get it, right? Okay, cube root of 56 times cube root of 98. Another big one. So if you can't tell what goes into something, I mean, you just have to use your calculator and start dividing and figure it out. Abby, do you remember what goes into 56? Yeah. So 8 is that. It's going to repeat the last one. And Abby, you know what for sure has to go into 98? If it ends in an 8, if it ends in an even number, like 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, that means 2 has to go into it. And if I did 98 divided by 2, it's 49, and what goes into 49?
7, 7.
Okay, so since this is a cubed root, we need triples. What triples do we have? 2 and 7. So I see 3 7s and 3 2s, and then there's 1 left over. So that means 7 times 2 is escaping. And who's left in jail? 2. I should have said Brian. What? Who said my name?
I said it.
Oh.
How would you do with 14? Because it's like a 25 is a square number.
What's 5 times square root of 5?
25.
No, 5 square root of 5. We talked about that on
It's 5 squared into 5.
It can't,
It
5.
can't- It can't go into
5 square root of 5. They don't mix. It's kind of like what's 5 times x is 5x. It doesn't do anything. 21 square root of 4ab times. Okay, let's see. James, what do you think we'll get if we multiply those two together?
20
Yeah, but it'll still be in the square root, right? So it's square root of 20a. B times b is b squared. All right, you guys remember how we did this yesterday? This is the end. Well, the 20 we still did the tree on, right? So the 20 is going to be, this is what I did at the beginning, it's 2 square root of 5. You guys remember yesterday when I went to write that, I left some space right there. Why did I leave the space?
letters.
Because of the letters. Okay, what can we do with the square root of a, James? Remember?
So there's it goes over 2.
Okay, what's the invisible exponent on a?
Oh,
A 1. What's the invisible root on the radical 2? So remember we do 1 divided by 2. Does 1 divide by 2? Nicely, not really. 1 divided by 2 is 0 with the remainder of 1. So that means you can't do it basically. That means 0 a's come out, but the 1 a is still left behind. So you can't really do it if this number is not big enough to divide by this number. Okay, the square root of a does not simplify. Okay, but the b's, however, you can do 2 divided by 2 is,
on the other side.
huh?
It goes on that side.
Yeah, 2 divided by 2 is 1. That means 1b does come out. But the remainder of nothing. 1 times 2 is 2, remainder is 0. Square root of b squared, square root of b squared is b. Yeah, so the book, I'm going to explain this briefly. I don't really care about this, but the book would put an absolute value symbol around the b. The reason is when you do a square root, it should always come out positive. But, yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. 23, last one. Let's see, oh boy, 2w15 z cubed. 8wz. All right. Huh? Kenton, what can we do on this one? Or what would it be if we multiplied these together? You could, but in this case, let's multiply it together first. 16. The reason multiplying it together would be easier on this one is because 16 does have a square root. If you simplified it over here, that would be fine. You get 2 double 2's, which is 4. But anyway, how many w's do we have here? W15 times w, w16, z to the third times z, z to the fourth. Okay, square root of 16. I could do a tree with that, but basically the square root of 16 is just 4. Okay, so 4 comes out. And then what am I going to do with the exponent here? You remember? You're right. 16 divided by 2, basically. 16 divided by 2. So it's w to the 8th. Remember, square root means what times itself could equal this. And the answer is w to the 8th times w to the 8th would equal this. Okay, but it's like dividing. 16 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2. Okay, so that would also be z squared. Somebody was doing the even.
No, I just want to go.
Just want to review. You want help with 16? Well, square root of 6 times square root of 18. That's going to simplify. And then you do plus square root of 6 times square root of 2. That's going to simplify as well. Huh?